Let's take a few moments and I'll explain to you how I got out of a little bit of a photography funk here during the winter. Hey, welcome to another video. If you've noticed in some of my recent videos, I've been talking a little bit about platinum printing. It's also called platinotype. It's a process that was invented back in the 1800s. Not a lot of people do it. With the invention of digital, it's become a lot easier to do platinum. Again, as I said in a previous video, not easy, but easier, because it is a contact print, meaning the size of your negative is the size of your print. So in the old days when they had 8x10 and 5x7 view cameras, maybe even 16x20 view cameras, those were the size of the negatives. And so they could make a print from that negative. With DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, full frame, micro four thirds, whatever size you have, even a medium format camera, your sensors aren't large enough, so you have to make a digital negative. Being able to use a computer and make that negative has made life a whole lot easier than having to do the whole thing in the darkroom. Because of that, I've gotten back into platinum printing here in the last month, 2 months, and I'm going to show you some of the examples that are my final prints. One or two of them I might still be tweaking. A couple of them I may end up doing in larger sizes, but that's something for down the road. Now, why do I like platinum printing? Even though it's a little bit of a pain to do, and it's also quite expensive to print in platinum, for a few reasons. One, the tonal range that you can get out of a platinum print can't be matched by a black and white print. Even in a darkroom print, it just can't be matched. The range that you get on that histogram or on the zone system or whatever you want to call it is just superior to a black and white print. It just is. The depth that you get from the print, and it's hard to see, you know, when I put one up here in a minute, it's hard to see that print over a video like that. To see the depth, to see the tonal range, I admit it's hard to see. You have to see it in good light, but it's definitely there. My wife, who obviously has seen a lot of my photos, when I started printing one out the other day, and I didn't prompt her, I didn't say anything to her, I'm a little surprised she said it. She just walked by and she looked at the print and she said, wow, the depth that you get from that print is so much different than your other ones. Another thing that I like about it is the archival permanence that you get with a platinum print. High-end collectors much prefer platinum prints over black and white prints. And the reason why is because if you go into a darkroom or you're on your computer and you have an inkjet printer or a lot of different processes, what happens is there's a film or whatever you want to call it that sits on top of the paper. And your print, in essence, sits on that film, that top of the paper. It doesn't really seep into the paper, not like a platinum print does. And so a platinum print actually seeps into the paper itself. It's built into the fibers. When you put those sensitizers and those platinum palladium salts onto the paper, it seeps into that fiber paper. And so that print is going to last as long as your paper will last. Where a black and white print, even done in a darkroom, and certainly inkjet prints, even if they say, well, you have these great inks and they're going to last 75 years. Okay, well, they're going to last 75 years, but they're going to start to fade over time. Where platinum print, if you handle it correctly, isn't going to do that. It has an archival permanence that even a darkroom print, and certainly an inkjet print, and some other types of prints that you might want to have done for you, a platinum print is going to last longer. That's why collectors like it. They also have a little bit of a different look to them. Let me show you one. This is one of my grandson playing baseball. If you notice, it has more of a matte finish to it. It doesn't have a reflective, contrasty kind of look that a black and white print will have. And you think, well, that's why a black and white print would be better. Well, actually, no, there's more tones in that platinum print. Again, if you were to look on a histogram, you would see it. So it almost has a diffused look to it as compared to a black and white print that's going to pop, a more contrast look. Some people might prefer that. Others, I think, would prefer a platinum print, that more kind of almost soft look as opposed to a contrast look. Doesn't mean you can't have contrast in your print, but it's not going to be the same as a black and white print. Now, each print is going to look a little different. Even if you use the same negative, the same sensitizers, everything. Each print is going to look slightly different because you paint on the sensitizers and the salts, the platinum palladium, or if you're just using platinum or you're just using palladium. But you take a brush. If you go back and look at one of my other videos, I'll show you how it's all done. And so your borders, unless some people, they do it so that they have a borderless, or they have a straight line border print to their platinum prints, and that's fine. But the majority of people are going to print it and they're going to have a border. Where it's printed on. So that this border here, because when I took a brush and painted this all on, this border is not going to look exactly the same. It's just not. And even if I were to print this a second time, right after the other, it's going to look a hair different because every time you put a print in that developer, the pH changes ever so slightly. And so your print is going to change ever so slightly. Not by a lot, but it's going to change a little bit. And so a lot of times what you do is you keep putting fresh developer over top of your old developer to try to keep that pH the same, but it's going to look a hair different. Now, when I talk about seeing contrast, I did a series of prints of my buddy Henry. For people who are watchers of my videos, you'll know who Henry is. Henry's a Heron. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Henry for months. We had a neighborhood barbecue yesterday. I was down there talking with someone, and he told me that whoever handles the lake down there, they sprayed a bunch of pesticides, and I haven't seen the herons, the spoonbills, anything for months, and that's why. They've all kind of moved on, I guess, until some of these things grow back in and the pesticides kind of wear down a little bit. It's unfortunate. I guess it's what they have to do, but I haven't seen the herons. I haven't seen my buddy Henry, and hopefully he'll return again here come this summer, but I haven't seen him. So anyway, this is one of the ones I did with Henry, and you can see the contrast in this print. But you can also see the tonal range. And again, I don't know how well it's going to show up on this video, but there really is such a depth and a range that you just don't get with black and white prints. This is another one in the series. This one I may end up making a bigger print. This is one of the candidates I may end up doing larger. But this is Henry as well. And you can just see there is contrast in it. But again, I mean, this little mark here where I painted it, and down here, this edge down here, it'll never look exactly like this. And so this print, which I marked 1 out of 10 because I am going to do a limited run of this print, this is the only one that's going to look like this. And even this is the only one that I've printed so far. And so when I go back in the darkroom to make another one, that developer is going to be a hair different. The temperature of the developer might be a hair different. The chemicals, I'm going to have fresher chemicals because I just ordered more. And so even though the image will be the same, it's going to look a hair different. This is the third one of Henry. I'm still kind of tweaking this one a little bit. I'm not sure I'm completely satisfied with this. I've been messing around with the negative a little bit. But this is the third one of Henry in the series. I might have one or two more that I can make into platinum prints, but I'd like to do a series. If it's not Henry, a different heron, I'd like to do a series of maybe 5 or 10 different heron prints in platinum and make a project out of it. You know, they talk about you want to get out of a funk, find a project. Well, this is one of my projects, to make some platinum prints of Henry or some other heron. The drawbacks of platinum, like I said, one, I get my materials from Bostic and Sullivan. I imagine most of the people, especially in the United States, and I think even some Europeans, get their chemicals from Bostic and Sullivan. They're one of the few that somehow gets their hands on platinum and palladium. You can get the sensitizers, the ferric oxalate and potassium oxalate and things like that. They're fairly easy to get, but the Bostic and Sullivan will mix everything for you and have it all properly made and get you the platinum and the palladium. Again, I have no allegiance to them other than that's who I use. I'm not sponsored or anything like that by Bostic and Sullivan. They certainly don't get their product to me any quicker than anybody else. So if you do order from them, they're very nice people. They're a very good company, but don't expect your order to arrive within a few days. It's going to take a few weeks to get something from them unless you pay extra. And also the other thing is that because some of these things are considered hazardous materials, this last order, I think it cost me $40 just to ship it. And it's going to come in a little box like this. And it's still $40 because of the hazardous materials. And the other thing is that, you know, I don't get it right the first time. I'm going to show you this print, well, I'm still working on it later in the video here, but like this here, you know, I've printed this one 4 times already with 4 different negatives. And yes, I look at the histogram and everything else, but, you know, even though the histogram will tell me that there's information in this white area here, there is, you can see there's a little bit of gray in it, but it still isn't the way I want it. And the same with the waterfalls, except for possibly the bottom, there is supposed to be information. There is data in that waterfall, but it isn't really showing up the way I want it. So I have to keep making the negative until I get it, which I'll show you another one later on. And the other thing that happens is you can make a print and be happy with it. And I don't know where or how or what happened, whether it was in the paper or it's not in the negative, but somehow I got some kind of mark there and it didn't show up until I made the print. And same with here. I don't know whether I didn't wash it quickly enough or well enough, but sometimes you can have all your settings properly and the print itself comes out nice, except you get goobers in your print that just show up. And then sometimes you do one and you think, boy, that's going to make a nice platinum print. And maybe it does, but I thought, like this one here, it's from a house in Iceland. I thought I would like it more than I do. And I don't know why, but there was something lacking when I saw it, and I don't know why. Because it's a nice print, but I don't know that it's one that turned out to be one of my favorites, and I thought it would be. And then also, you know, you have to determine what size you want. Like this is a larger one of the one you saw a few minutes ago. Sometimes they may look better a little bit smaller. So you have to keep adjusting that negative and deciding how big do I really want to make that print or how small. The other thing you can do is you can go back and look at some of your older images and see if they'll make a nice platinum print. This is one I took several years ago. It's we took a boat ride in Lucerne, Switzerland, and I forget the name of the mountain, but this is their famous mountain that we actually went up the mountain. They have a train that goes up the mountain. And I think it turned out to make a nice print. Now again, I had to make this negative 3 times. And I printed this probably 4 or 5 times until I really honed in on, for example, you know, how white did I want this snow up here in the mountain? The contrast here where the light was hitting across this here. You know, at the first one I did, it came out too bright. The second one came out too dull, and then I finally got it back in range. Same down here, these signs. How much contrast do you want? But now that I have it dialed in, I can, again, make this print again if I had to or if I wanted to. It's not going to look exactly the same, but it'll be pretty close. Here's another one from Iceland that you can really see the tonal range if you were to see this up front. It's just the lighthouse down near Vik. But the tonal range is just, I think, is just beautiful. This one surprised me because I almost didn't make this into a platinum print. I didn't think it was going to make a nice platinum print. I thought it was going to look better in color because the top of this lighthouse is red. And in a color print, it really pops. And I thought it would look better in color. And it still makes a nice color print. But I was surprised at how nice of a platinum print it made. So there are images that lend themselves to platinum that others just don't. I mean, you're gonna take some images and you think, oh, it's going to make a nice platinum print, like the house that I just showed you before, and maybe in the end it surprises you and it doesn't. Here's a moonrise that I took a few years ago that it made a nice black and white print, and I tried to make it into a platinum print. It came out pretty nice. But again, I took that image probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I went back through my collection and decided to make it into a platinum print. Now here's the one from Kirkefell and Kirkefoss that I showed you the negative of earlier that I'm still tweaking, but this is going to be pretty close to how I want the final image to look. This is also another candidate for maybe making a larger print, maybe 13 by 19, a little bit smaller than that maybe. But this might be end up being a larger print. The tonal range that you really get through the sky, off the mountain, you can't get that out of a black and white print or even a color print. You just can't. I realize that I have some loyal subscribers, loyal viewers of my channel. Not a lot, that's okay, but I know you're there. And I really appreciate the fact that you're there. What I want to do for you is offer one of my platinum prints at a very reduced rate. It'll come at it, and it'll include shipping, anywhere around the world, and it will be limited to 10 prints. Only the first 5 will be on my website at this particular price for people that made it to the end of this video. If you noticed, I didn't say in the beginning of the video, hey, stay to the end, because there's going to be a surprise. I didn't do that intentionally because I wanted it to only be available to people that really watch my videos to the end. There may be only 1 or 2 of you, and that's fine, but I wanted to offer you something that's a little bit different than for people that just watch the first 2-3 minutes, or occasionally will watch a video and go away. I wanted to offer this to my loyal subscribers. And what I'm going to do is, this one here, I took in England in 2015, and it was outside of Abbey Road Studios. And I don't know what the situation is, but there's a wall, or was at the time in 2015, outside of Abbey Road Studio where people would leave messages, they would make pictures, whatever they were going to do. And it looked like what they did was they'd go behind it and whitewash it every so often. I could be wrong, but that's what it appeared to be. So I don't know whether this particular image is even still on that wall or not. But it was there in 2015. There were some other things that went along with it. This isn't exactly what it was, but it's close. And I snapped a picture of it. And I made a platinum print out of it. I changed it ever so slightly so that it's really mine, not in particular someone else's painting, because I know you really shouldn't do that. But this was left on Abbey Road Studios at the time. I don't know if it's still there or not. Someone can leave in the comment if they know if it's still there or not. But this was back in 2015. So what I want to do is, this particular one I'm going to keep for myself. And like I said, I'm going to make it an edition of 10. And only the first 5 are going to be available at this price for people who watch this video or happen to stumble across it. And I'll leave it up on my website for maybe 30 days, maybe 60 days, and then I'll take it down from that price. And the price will be $65, matted, and include shipping. And you say, oh, that's still so expensive. I'll probably end up putting the other 5 or however many are left on my website. I haven't decided on a price for that particular one yet, but probably $300. And if it becomes matted and framed and put in this local gallery that I'm thinking about joining up with, it'll probably be $400 or $500. So $65 is really covering the cost of the mat board, the paper, the chemicals, the negative, whatever the raw materials it took me to make that, and a little bit of time for, or a little bit extra for my time. But in essence, even at $65, it's a giveaway, because the shipping and the envelope and everything else is going to be, who knows, $15, $20 depending on where you are in the world, and the cost of the chemicals and the paper and everything else. So I'd like to do that in appreciation to the people who made it to the end, because I know there are a few of you, even you, Marcus. I'll send it all the way to you for the $65. Sort of an inside joke between me and Marcus. But anyway, so I do appreciate it, and I do thank you, and that's what I want to do for you. I'll put it up on my website, michael-cantwell.com. You go to the store tab, and hopefully I'll have it up there by the time this video is released. I should. If I don't, for whatever reason, just send me an email, and I'll make sure you get one. But it's only for the first 5. I realize I may not even sell 5, and that's fine. But I wanted to do something in appreciation for the people who do watch my videos and make it to the end. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye.